How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the #1 Raiders podcast in the world. My name is Steven Michaels. This is the Raiders Daily. Alright, so we are on a bye week, but we are also coming off the biggest victory for the Raiders in a very long time. Definitely the biggest victory of Derek Carr's career in the NFL as the Raiders go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. Something that has eluded Derek Carr's career all the way up until last Sunday. As I record this now, it is Wednesday. It's in the middle of the week. We will see what happens as far as transactions. A lot of teams who are not very good, they end up shopping players, getting rid of players. Usually around this week and next week is when they usually start dropping, but especially this week. So maybe the Raiders can get some help on that defensive line because they do have some injuries. During that Chiefs game, you've seen Carl Nassib go off the field. I believe it's a toe injury. I think he broke his toe. So there are some injuries. They need some help on that defensive line. The defense did play good in this game, and we will talk about that right now. First of all, the Raiders, they open up this game, okay? And what happens? Okay, the first thing they do, they start looking good. They force the Chiefs to go 3-and-out. And I'm thinking, wow, that is a big win for this Raiders team. But they get the ball back, and nothing's really doing. And then all of a sudden, Derek Carr throws an interception. The first quarter looked like it was about to be a disaster. The Raiders were down 14-3. They got, for some reason, they kicked the field goal. They couldn't get in the end zone again, a problem they had all year. I said, oh no, you're not going to beat the Chiefs this way by kicking field goals and throwing interceptions. But what did the Raiders do? The Raiders, they claw back into this game. Henry Ruggs on a bomb. The Alligator, Nelly, on a bomb. The Raiders, Derek Carr throwing it down the field, going through his progressions. He going through all his reads, scoping the field. I mean, the Raiders really went tit for tat against the Chiefs. But at the end of the day, the Raiders defense made the plays. Also, people say John Gruden's conservative. No. Not in this game. He goes for it on fourth down, and he does the one thing I've been hoping that the Raiders would do instead of handing off to Jacobs in a shotgun formation on 4th and 1. They QB sneak it. Something the Patriots been doing for years. It works every time when it's 4th and inches. It's almost impossible not to pick up the first down when it's 4th and inches on a QB sneak. It really is, especially with you got Rodney Hudson right there. You got some big guys up front. Derek Carr is going to be able just to lean forward and pick up a couple of inches, and that's exactly what he did, not once, but twice in this game. The Raiders, like I said, they did everything they needed to do in the preview show. I told you guys the truth. I mean, I could not go into that game and tell you 100% the Raiders were going to win. Why? Because the Raiders have never shown me, and Derek Carr has never shown me he could win an Arrowhead. Now, granted, there wasn't like, this was a packed stadium. You could hear Raider chants for crying out loud. There looked like there was about 200 people there. It does not matter, though. It really doesn't. The fact of the matter is he did it. He got the monkey off his back. He made the right throws. He regrouped himself. I mean, he redeemed himself, I should say, after that interception. And that interception was bad. That was just, I don't know what he was doing there. But that was a bad interception. And I thought, oh boy, here we go. Remember last year, the Raiders were down 28-3. Chiefs pretty much, they had it in the bag after that. Derek Carr just pads his stats. They end up losing, 40-20 or something like that. That's what I figured was going to happen in this game. But no. Derek Carr would not be denied in this game. The defense, yeah, they had their moments of weakness. Patrick Mahomes, the guy looks like a magician out there. That's why I always say Andy Reid is the most overrated coach in the National Football League. I know that's controversial. They are the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. But think about it, guys. Andy Reid or whoever calls a play, Patrick Mahomes isn't following that play. He's running around, buying time, improvising, and just throwing it up in the air, waiting for a guy to get open. Those aren't design plays. Andy Reid does not have a tough job when you have Patrick Mahomes as a quarterback. But one thing that did happen in this game, Max Crosby gets after Patrick Mahomes and a brilliant sack. And a sack that, let me tell you something, if he hit his arm just a little bit harder, that would have been a fumble right there. I don't know how Patrick Mahomes even kept the ball, but if Crosby smacks that ball just a little bit harder, that's definitely a fumble. And how about this? At the end of the game, when the Raiders needed something, remember what I said in the preview show? Remember, I said the only way the Raiders stand a chance is if they control the clock. They control the tempo of the game. You know, getting up to the line of scrimmage doesn't mean they have to snap it right away, but, you know, just getting up there, getting a lot of getting your tempo up, basically. But what do? They run the ball. And then, of course, the big play at the end of the game, the biggest play I'll talk about first is when Jeff Heath, that's right, gets an interception off Patrick Mahomes, and that was huge. I told you the Raiders defense needed at least one big turnover in this game to win, and that's exactly what they did. I told you everything I said in the preview show. I put a tweet out about this. Everything I said in that preview show, if you go listen to that, everything, they did. Derek Carr making accurate decisions, running the ball, setting up the play action for deep throws down the field. The Raiders just played a superb game. They showed with their speed. John Gruden showed what the future of the Raiders can look like. He showed that Derek Carr can be the quarterback for this team. He can. I've said it multiple times. This guy's athletic enough that he could even be better. If he used his legs, this guy, a lot, because there are plays where, he's looking for a wide receiver. Meanwhile, he has an open lane to run. If he could do that, can you imagine? But he didn't need to do that much in this game. He did use his legs, though. We will say that. But he made some great passes in this game. He really did. Made some phenomenal passes. Another guy who is getting overlooked right now that played a key factor in the Raiders winning this game is Devonte Booker. I know he didn't have, 30 carries or anything, but the guy, every time he got the ball, it seemed like it was a huge run. You could throw him the ball, you can pass him the ball. He has definitely surpassed Jalen Richard. He should be the number 2 running back. Jalen Richard, to me, he's Jalen Richard. Like I said before, he's fast, but, he's got to be in open space. He doesn't have good angles. Devonte Booker, this guy was running the ball like an animal against the Chiefs. And I was shocked, by the way, speaking of running the ball, that the Chiefs did not try to run their running back more against the Raiders, knowing that the Raiders have a hard time against the run. Hilaire's a pretty damn good running back, yet the Chiefs decide, no, we're going to throw the ball off them since the Raiders' secondary is terrible. We're going to keep throwing it off them. And eventually, guess what happens? Jeff Heath gets that big interception. The Raiders they played a lot of dime packages. They were ready for that. They were ready for the deep throws. Luckily, one of the deep throws got called back. There was a penalty. That took it off. And then there was another one that, by the way, I just want to bring this play up real quick because I watched the film of this game a million times. So many things I want to say, but I can't say it all on one show. Chiefs score a touchdown. It got called back for an illegal pick. Travis Kelce, illegal pick. The Chiefs do that play almost every single game, and they get away with it. It drives me crazy. Usually it's to, what's his name there? Tyreek Hill. It's usually a play like that. It's just a cross pattern. Travis Kelce picks the corner or the safety, whoever's trying to follow him, and Hill is wide open on a slant. It could be for a touchdown or it could go for 50 yards, but it happens all the time and it never gets called. Finally, it gets called. The Raiders, the refs were very fair in this game. Very fair. I seen some Chiefs fans crying, thinking Jonathan Abram had a pass interference and he should have got flagged. No. Jonathan Abram was playing for the ball. All he did is stick his hand out and bat the ball away. That is going after the ball. He didn't do anything wrong. That's what you're taught to do. Yeah, maybe he could have turned his head just a little bit, but he's going for the ball, for crying out loud. And of course, what it really comes down to is Chiefs fans are wondering, what the hell just happened? They've been beating the Raiders in Arrowhead for the past, 6 years? And all of a sudden, the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, by the way, who have never lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. Let's make that clear. The Las Vegas Raiders have never lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. The Oakland Raiders, they don't exist no more. All I know is the Las Vegas Raiders. And they are undefeated against the Kansas City Chiefs. Raider fans celebrating everywhere. This was a huge game for the Raiders. They needed this win. They really did. They were coming off back-to-back losses. Their season was not, if they didn't win this game, what would have happened? You can't lose 3 straight. I said that in the preview show. You cannot do that in the NFL this early. You will not recover. 2 straight? Yeah, that's bad. But if you win a big one, then, you can turn things around. And this is a big game. This game, it is early in the season. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to talk about that in a second. It's early in the season. But as far as momentum goes, you cannot ask for better momentum than going into Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs. Like I said, Derek Carr's never done it. The Chiefs, I think they won, 13 straight games before this game? I believe that was the stat. And the Raiders do it. And they did it by grinding Jacobs early, even though Jacobs is banged up. Putting Booker in there. Then, of course, like I said, Derek Carr throwing it down the field. These guys were open. John Gruden, he looked at it and he said, you know what? I think I can throw off these guys. That's what the Chiefs do against everyone else in the NFL. They use their speed on the outside to kill these other teams and put up 40 points. Well, John Gruden said, how about we do that against them? Because the Chiefs, going into this game, I can tell you one thing right now, we're not expecting Derek Carr to be throwing, 70-yard bombs, 50-yard passes. They were not expecting that. They were expecting a lot of Josh Jacobs, a lot of, grinding it out type thing, a lot of throwing to Darren Waller in the flat. That's what they were expecting, which the Raiders did do, but they also opened up the passing game because the Chiefs were stacking the box thinking it was going to be a run every time it was second down. But no, when it was second down, it was time to dial up a big play. And this time, guess what? These big plays weren't getting called back with dumb illegal formation penalties that really, come on. I don't even want to get into that. It was, against Buffalo. But it wasn't getting called back. Now, big win for the Raiders. Like I said, you guys should have been celebrating. I hope you still should be celebrating. You're on a bye week. You got a stress-free Sunday. Now you get to go watch all these teams. Now you get to go watch Tampa Bay play. Because that's the next team on the schedule. Now, as big as this win is for the Raiders, I will say this because this is what I do for a living, guys. I'm an analyst. I'm a host. I give my opinion on things, and I'm often correct, as you can tell. Anyways, it's still early in the season, but the Raiders are 3-2. Okay? They're 3-2. They got the Tampa Bay Bucks next. This is another game that they're going to have to win. Their schedule does not get any easier from here. I mean, even the Cleveland Browns game they have coming up in a couple weeks, that's not going to be an easy game anymore. When you looked at the schedule, when the schedule first came out, you probably circled that game, put a W right next to it. Guess what? The Cleveland Browns, they've been very good this season. But it's early. It is very early in the season. So, all this talk about, that's why I didn't like the whole, after the Raiders lost against Buffalo, people were talking about the Buffalo Bills quarterback. Oh, should he be the MVP this season? MVP? Come on, man. MVP? It's week 4, and you guys are talking about who's going to be the MVP. And then the Bills, I mean, come on. It's the Bill. You can't be talking about MVP candidates this early on in the season. Why don't you wait till week 10, week 11, week 12? That's when you start to see who is the best of the best. Now, hopefully the Raiders can start stacking up these W's because that's what they need to do. They cannot go play Tampa Bay and lay an egg. Because if they do that, I got news for you. That big win for Derek Carr, really, it means nothing. It means, yeah, he finally beat the Chiefs in a pandemic where there was no fans. No one will ever take that win seriously. That's the truth. I know a lot of Raider fans don't want to hear it, but that's the truth. But if Derek Carr can play like that, minus the interception, and win against Tampa, put together, a 3-game winning streak here, then the people, the national audience will start taking the Raiders for real. But this next game against Tampa, after this bye week we're in right now, is going to be huge. It's Tom Brady versus Derek Carr. Remember, Derek Carr was pissed. His first day in Vegas, who's on the paper? Tom Brady. Also, remember this. Who fired John Gruden? Tampa Bay. So, you got 2 guys who are really going to want to stick at the Tampa Bay. Trust me. They are doing their homework on this team. It's not going to be an easy feat. But Tampa Bay, I believe, has the Green Bay Packers coming. Then they got the Raiders. I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how it works out here. So they might be beaten up by the time they get to Vegas, and the Raiders might be able to trounce them. The Raiders, in my opinion, should be able to beat Tampa Bay. And they need to. Like I said, they need to start stacking up these victories. Because, listen, they're 3-2. The Chiefs have 1 loss, and that's against the Raiders. The Raiders are only a game out of being in first place. So now, what you're looking for is you want the Chiefs to lose games. Who knows what can happen? It's still early on in the season. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you some guys on this team that I think can be really good. And if they're still consistent by week 11 or 12, I think the Raiders need to give it an extension to. One is, like I said, the alligator. Nelson Allegor. I always say his last name wrong. But anyways, this guy, he's been playing lights out. Now in Philly, he had about 4 crucial drop passes. Hopefully that does not happen here with the Raiders. But so far, he's been, awesome. Even against Buffalo, when I was telling you, the guy was wide open and Derek Carr was never seen him. Prior to that, there was times the guy was wide open and Carr never seen him because he wasn't going through his reads. I don't know what happened in this game, but I think it's a lot of chatter of Derek Carr never winning in Kansas City and all that. But Derek Carr looked like a different quarterback, and we need Derek Carr to play like that every week. We need Derek Carr to be a winner. And I am sick and tired, by the way, after this guy wins a football game, of these people with their Twitter accounts who think they know football, who don't know anything about football. I mean, these are the same people that think that Patrick Mahomes is a product of a system, for crying out loud. They, where's the Carr haters? No one hates Derek Carr, who is a Raiders fan. People want Derek Carr to win. He's the quarterback of the team that they root for. So to call a Raider fan a Derek Carr hater is weird. Because if they hated the guy, they would be rooting for him to lose, not to win. So that logic makes no sense. Are there frustrated Derek Carr Raider fans? Yes. Because the guy got paid $120 million, guys. I mean, think about it. If you're Mark Davis, you paid this guy, you're the quarterback, the franchise quarterback, $120 million. You paid a head coach $100 million. You expect to be in the playoffs. You expect a Super Bowl ring. So, I mean, you can't blame people for criticizing a quarterback who does not play well sometimes. Now, my thing with Derek Carr is he played outstanding against the Chiefs besides that interception. He needs to be consistent. I want to see more of that Derek Carr. I want to see more of Derek Carr taking the shots. Now they have Henry Ruggs. This guy can take the top off every time. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And also, don't forget about Rico Gafford, because this Derek Carr had a chance to hit him in the end zone. He missed them, but another play. But, listen, this guy has speed too. The Raiders have a lot of speed out there, not to mention they have Darren Waller, who's dealing with an injury, by the way. That's why I don't think he gets open as much. Teams aren't really taking him away as much as I think he's just a little bit slower than he was, because he is dealing with an injury. Same thing with Josh Jacobs. The guy has a hip pointer, so he's injured. That's why they had to take him out of the game. But that's why this bye week comes at a perfect time. Get these guys to rest up, and I think they will be ready for Tampa. Also, good news in this game, Trent Brown decides to play. And look at the difference. Derek Carr has time. I mean, like I said, Trent Brown's a monster of a dude. And when he's motivated, he's pretty damn good. He's a monster. He doesn't even have to do really. You can just stand there, and it's hard to get past the dude. But he shut down Frank Clark. He shut down everyone. Everyone that put at his side. The Raiders' offensive line played outstanding, and the Raiders' defense is so much better. And Nick Kwiatkowski in there with the mic, so much better. When he's off the field and Nicholas Morrow's in there, it's just a mess. So they need that guy to stay healthy as well. They need Kwiatkowski in there. They need to bring in another linebacker, in my opinion, that can handle that kind of thing. Now, I do know that they spoke to Michael Kendricks again, a linebacker, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. I know he had legal issues, and who knows. The Raiders don't have a ton of money. That's the problem. But they could use another linebacker. They could definitely use another defensive lineman, especially, we don't know the deal with Carl Nassib. So they need one. Maybe they can get one this week. Maybe they can. If they can't, let me tell you something. Dante Jones looked pretty good. You know what I mean? So, you got to find ways to generate more pass rush. And maybe Max Crosby is now starting to get in his groove like he was last season. Because that guy was all over the field last week against the Chiefs. He was getting off his block. He was making sure he wasn't getting burned around the end. He was getting after Patrick Mahomes. Even if this defensive line wasn't actually sacking Patrick Mahomes, they are making him uncomfortable, making him throw before he wanted to throw. And that's why a lot of these passes were over guys' heads. They weren't accurate. Patrick Mahomes had a rough day. The Raiders really played an outstanding game, and they deserve credit for what they did out there in Arrowhead. Now, like I said, it all depends. What can this team do going forward? Can this team play like that on a week-to-week basis? If they can, this team will be in the playoffs, I promise you. If that team that you just saw play against the Kansas City Chiefs plays like that every single week, they're going to be in the playoffs. They are going to be in the playoffs, and they might go deep in the playoffs if they can do that every single week. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens when they play Tampa. That is going to be a huge game for the Raiders. But like I said, the momentum is on their side right now. They're getting healthier. They got a bye week. They're just, in my opinion, you get healthier, you get better, you got the momentum. This team can do some damage. And with the speed on the outside, like I said, as long as Derek Carr can get the ball out of his hands quickly, make the right reads, he can do the job. He can do it. Henry Ruggs is way too fast for any safety in the NFL. Darren Waller is the best tight end in the National Football League, in my opinion. Josh Jacobs, when fully healthy, the guy can grind you out. John Gruden isn't so much that 1998 coach anymore. He's taking gambles. And that's what the Raiders need to do. That's why they were successful in 2016, by the way. People don't want to admit it, but they went for it a lot on fourth down. They did a lot of gambling, and it paid off. That's what this team is going to need to do going forward. And I think that's exactly what they are going to do. But your Las Vegas Raiders have finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They finally have done it. They do it 40-32. Go have fun. Have a great Sunday. I will see you guys next week as we prepare a little bit more for these Tampa Bay Bucks. It's Gruden versus his former team. It's Brady versus Carr. Will Carr show everyone, hey, listen, we never needed Brady here. I can do exactly what Brady was supposed to do here. Because really, that's what Brady would be doing. It's the same kind of deal. He gets the ball out of his hands fast, makes the correct reads. That's why I was not for Tom Brady coming there. I'd rather have kept Derek Carr. I've been vocal about that. Even though he has struggled, I felt like with the additions, he would have been fine. And he played out. He exceeded my expectations on Sunday. I want him to do that every single week. And let's make this team a playoff team. My name is Steven Michaels. Thank you for listening. This is the Raiders Daily.